Can a closer who struggled through stretches of last season really be the answer to Atlanta's bullpen prayers, especially when championship contenders were willing to pay the same price? There's something deliciously ironic about watching a team outbid the reigning World Series champions for a player who, just months ago, had fans questioning whether he'd lost his touch. Yet here we are, witnessing the Atlanta Braves celebrate what they're calling a significant victory after securing Raisel Iglesias on a one-year, $16 million deal. The veteran closer chose Atlanta over offers from both the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Toronto Blue Jays, two franchises with deep pockets and championship aspirations. But before we crown this move as genius, let's dig into what really happened here and whether the Braves just pulled off a masterstroke or merely postponed an inevitable problem. When the trade deadline passed last summer and Iglesias remained in an Atlanta uniform, the baseball world collectively scratched its head. Here was a closer on an expiring contract, playing for a team that was clearly evaluating its options, yet the Braves held firm. Some dismissed it as organizational paralysis. Others whispered about a gentleman's agreement for a future reunion. The skeptics? They figured Atlanta simply couldn't find a trade partner willing to take on a struggling reliever with a hefty price tag. Fast forward to Wednesday night, and suddenly that decision looks prescient. The Braves didn't just re-sign Iglesias, they fought off two legitimate contenders to do it. According to insider reports, both the Dodgers and Blue Jays put approximately $16 million on the table, matching Atlanta's offer dollar for dollar. In a pure bidding war, the Braves shouldn't have won. The Dodgers have proven they'll spend whatever it takes to build a dynasty. The Blue Jays are desperate to capitalize on their championship window before it slams shut. Yet, Iglesias chose Atlanta. Why? Familiarity breeds comfort, and comfort breeds performance? Or so the theory goes. Iglesias knows the organization, understands the expectations, and has already navigated the pressures of closing games in the postseason hunt. There's value in that continuity, especially for a 35-year-old pitcher who's entering what could be the twilight of his career. But let's not pretend this was purely a sentimental decision. The Braves offered security, a defined role, and a chance to rebuild his market value on a one-year prove-it deal. For Iglesias, this wasn't just about coming home, it was about setting himself up for one more payday next winter. Here's where things get interesting and where the Braves are either brilliant or dangerously optimistic. Yes, Iglesias struggled during portions of last season. His command wavered, his velocity dipped, and there were moments when hitters seemed to have his number. For a closer, inconsistency isn't just problematic, it's potentially catastrophic. One blown save in October can define an entire season, and Atlanta knows this better than most franchises. But then August happened. Iglesias didn't just recover, he dominated. He was named the league's reliever of the month, posting numbers that reminded everyone why he's been one of baseball's most reliable closers over the past decade. His fastball regained its bite. His splitter danced like it had in his prime. Suddenly, the same pitcher who had fans nervously checking the bullpen depth chart was back to slamming doors in the ninth inning with authority. The question Atlanta's front office had to answer: was August Iglesias the real version, or was struggling through summer Iglesias the truth? They're betting $16 million that the hot streak wasn't a fluke. They're wagering that a veteran with over 350 career saves knows how to make adjustments, that experience matters when the pressure mounts, and that one rough patch doesn't erase years of excellence. It's a calculated risk, but it's not a blind one. The Braves have access to biomechanical data, pitch tracking analytics, and medical evaluations that we'll never see. If their internal metrics suggested Iglesias' struggles were mechanical rather than physical, if the data showed his arm's strength remained intact, then this signing transforms from gamble to shrewd investment. But if those August numbers were an outlier, if Iglesias was simply running hot at the perfect time, then Atlanta just committed significant resources to a problem they'll be scrambling to solve by July. Let's spare a moment for Los Angeles and Toronto, two organizations that just watched a target slip through their fingers. For the Dodgers, Losing out on Iglesias stings, but isn't catastrophic. They have the financial flexibility to pivot toward other elite relievers, and their track record of developing bullpen arms means they're never truly desperate. Still, there's something particularly galling about matching an offer and still losing the player. It suggests that money alone can't always seal the deal, a rare lesson for a franchise that's grown accustomed to getting what it wants. The Blue Jays, however, face a more pressing concern. Toronto's championship window is narrowing, and their bullpen has been a persistent weakness. They needed Iglesias, not just as a closer, but as a stabilizing presence in a relief corps that's shown troubling inconsistency. Now they're back to square one, scanning a free agent market that's already been picked over by aggressive competitors. Jordan Romano's health remains uncertain. The internal options haven't inspired confidence, and with each passing day, the available talent pool shrinks while prices inflate. Both teams will regroup and redirect their resources, but make no mistake, this hurts. When you put $16 million on the table and come away empty-handed, it's not just about the money. It's about organizational prestige, about the ability to close deals, about sending a message to your fan base that you're serious about winning. The Dodgers and Blue Jays just learned that sometimes the team with the best offer doesn't win. Sometimes the team with the best pitch does. Context matters, and the Iglesias signing doesn't exist in a vacuum. The Braves are orchestrating what insiders are calling an impressive offseason, a coordinated effort to address multiple roster needs while maintaining financial flexibility for future moves. Securing a proven closer was priority number one, but it's far from the only item on their to-do list. By locking up Iglesias on a one-year deal, Atlanta preserves long-term payroll space while solving an immediate need. It's the kind of strategic maneuvering that separates contenders from pretenders. They're not mortgaging the future to win now, but they're also not punting on 2025 to preserve resources for some theoretical championship window 3 years down the road. They're threading the needle, and so far, they're doing it masterfully. The bullpen now has its anchor. The late innings uncertainty that plagued them last season has a potential solution. And perhaps most importantly, the Braves sent a message to their roster and their fan base. We're not rebuilding, we're not retooling, we're competing. When you beat out the Dodgers for a player, you're making a statement. When you convince a veteran to choose your organization over multiple suitors offering identical money, you're demonstrating organizational strength that goes beyond dollars and cents. But the work isn't finished. Atlanta still needs to address rotation depth, evaluate their outfield situation, and determine whether their current roster construction can genuinely compete with the National League's elite. The Iglesias signing is a strong opening move, but championship chess matches aren't won in the first few turns. They're won through sustained strategic excellence, through anticipating your opponent's moves and positioning yourself 3 steps ahead. So here's the uncomfortable truth that Braves fans might not want to hear. This signing could go either way. If Iglesias pitches like he did in August, if the mechanical adjustments hold, if the veteran savvy translates to consistent excellence, then Atlanta just pulled off one of the offseason's smartest moves. They'll have a lockdown closer at a reasonable price, and they'll have done it while making their division rivals sweat. But if the struggles return, if the inconsistency that marked much of last season resurfaces, if opposing hitters figure out whatever adjustments Iglesias made, then the Braves will find themselves in a familiar nightmare scenario, desperately searching for bullpen help at the trade deadline while watching their postseason hopes hang by a thread. One-year deals minimize long-term risk, but they don't eliminate short-term consequences. If Iglesias falters, there's no safety net, no multi-year contract to justify patience while he works through problems. The Braves are betting on experience, on track record, on the belief that elite talent doesn't simply evaporate overnight. They're trusting their evaluation process, their coaching staff's ability to maintain whatever made Iglesias dominant in August, and their organizational infrastructure to support a veteran closer who's proven he can handle pressure. It's not a reckless bet, but it's not a sure thing either. What we know for certain is this: the Braves wanted Iglesias badly enough to outmaneuver two championship-caliber franchises. They saw something in his August performance that convinced them the risk was worth taking, and they've now set the stage for what could be either a triumphant validation of their scouting and development process or a cautionary tale about the dangers of recency bias. As spring training approaches and Iglesias prepares to don an Atlanta uniform once again, the baseball world will be watching closely. Can he sustain the excellence he displayed down the stretch? Will the Braves' faith in his resurgence be rewarded with dominant ninth-inning performances? Or will this reunion become another chapter in the long, painful history of closers who couldn't recapture their magic? One thing's for sure: the Braves didn't just sign a closer. They made a statement. They told the Dodgers and Blue Jays that Atlanta remains a destination where players want to compete. They signaled to their fan base that the organization is committed to winning now, not someday. And they placed a $16 million bet that experience, adjustment, and organizational support can transform a struggling veteran into a championship-caliber closer once more. Time will tell if they're right. But for now, in the high-stakes poker game of MLB free agency, the Braves just won a significant hand. Let's see if they can turn that early success into a championship jackpot. What do you think? Did the Braves just secure their missing piece, or are they setting themselves up for bullpen heartbreak? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that like button if you're as intrigued by this offseason chess match as we are. The hot stove season is just heating up, and we're here for every dramatic twist and turn.